Hello people, today's video is another trans-centered video. If you've never watched my videos before, I am a trans guy, and today's video is about dating as a trans person. I feel like this topic is quite important to talk about because I think dating as a trans person is like 10 times harder than dating as a cis person, obviously, because our dating pool is quite small. There is a lot of people that do not want to date trans people, which is fine. Like I'm not gonna go out and say every cis person that doesn't want to date a trans person is transphobic. I think that's very silly. But I also think not many trans people think that. I feel like cis people have made it up in their heads that we all think that cis people that don't want to date trans people are transphobic, which just isn't true. Like I've not really encountered any trans people that actually think that. I think it's just another way to make us look crazy. That's a whole different topic for another day. Obviously, people have preferences, and that's fine. But that doesn't make our feelings any less sad when we get rejected, because it's quite sad, because obviously it's out of our control. But I'm gonna get into all of the different things I've experienced whilst trying to date as a trans person. Are we talking about my current relationship with a cis person and how I make that work, and hopefully how you can make it work too, if that's what you're looking for. So let's get into it. So first I'm going to talk about my first relationship, and I'm putting relationship in air quotes because it wasn't really a relationship. Like, we were boyfriends, but it lasted 2 months and it was purely online, so I don't really classify that as a relationship, especially because I was 14 and they were 13. So like we didn't, like, I don't know. I think if you haven't, I'm not trying to diss like long distance relationships, but like if you're like a young child and you're in an online relationship and you're never gonna meet and you never do anything, and I just, like, I don't know how that works. But this was also my first like T4T relationship where I was trans and they were trans. And let me tell you, it was definitely something. It was definitely something to go through as a 14-year-old mentally ill dysphoric teenager. Let me set the scene, okay? I am 14. I'm 14-year-old Miles. Very, very not in a good mental state at the time. Came out not that long ago as trans. Not doing too great. This person also not doing too great. Probably doing worse than me, actually. Had a lot of, I'm not gonna give too many details, but they had a lot of eating problems. Had just in general dysphoria, general sadness, all that stress, all that stuff. Okay. And basically, what happened in this relationship was that every single conversation that we had, which was every day, because obviously when you date someone, you tend to talk to them every day, especially when you can't see them in real life, would turn into me comforting them for whatever problem they were struggling with. And there's definitely nothing wrong with confiding. Is that the right word? Confiding? Is that even a word? Am I making that up? I don't know. There's nothing wrong with talking about your feelings with your partner. Obviously, if you're having a bad day, that's fine. But when every single conversation turns into someone comforting you, it's not great. And my mental health just kind of plummeted while being in this relationship because I couldn't really focus on my own mental health because I was just trying to make sure that this other person was okay, which is really, really bad. Please don't get into relationships like that. I've learned my lesson. That's all I'll say. I won't be getting really into this relationship. If you want me to make a full video about it, I can, but I'm not sure that I will because it is just a lot, and I feel kind of bad airing this stuff out. But I don't know. I'll have a think. But basically, what happened was I broke up with them after 2 months because it was actually draining to talk to them, and they did not take it well. And still, we still tried to be friends, but I couldn't take it, so I kind of just drifted away. Um, and then a month later, they catfished me for a month, and then obviously that made me have really, really bad trust issues for many months because and honestly paranoia because I thought they were stalking me for months after, and whenever I would get a new follower, I would be scared that it was them. Anyways, so I'm gonna end that there. That whole topic, it wasn't great. Okay, so that being my first like relationship or I guess experience of dating someone, not too great, not too great of an experience. After that, I didn't date anyone, and I'm just to clarify, I am 16 right now, about to turn 17 in like 2 weeks, so very cool. But I didn't date anyone for a very, very, very long time. And I will also mention, I also didn't date anyone in school because I didn't have a great reputation at school, so like, and no one really wanted me like that. And there also wasn't really any gay people at my school, especially with like the boy community. Um, and even if there was, they were already very very closeted. So I didn't really have many options, and I never found myself like fancying straight guys. I know that's like a whole thing in the gay community where like gay guys fall in love with straight guys. I've never done that because like why would I put my energy into fancying someone that I know is never gonna date me? Like that just seems like a waste of time. So I would never get myself to do that. Also, like 99% of the boys in my year were just disgusting. So you know. But moving on to my next topic, dating apps. And I know you may be thinking, Miles, you are underage. What do you mean dating apps? And when I say dating apps, I do not mean Tinder. I don't mean Bumble. I don't mean flipping Grinder. Okay. I mean like the child dating apps, like Wiz, Yubo, all of that business. Because I definitely have some stories from there. Now, for a while, I was pretty certain that I wanted to date a cis person, mostly because I don't think that my dysphoric, fucked up brain could handle someone else's dysphoria and could help someone get through their own dysphoria. That sounds like hell. I don't know. That just is scary. I don't even know how to deal with my own sometimes, so I know I couldn't do that. Also, like that was just my preference, you know. So for a while, I would speak to both. I would speak to trans people and I'd speak to cis people, but I think I did want to date a cis person. However, that proved to be very difficult because like 99% of cis people do not want to date trans people. And like I said earlier, I don't necessarily blame them, but it is quite difficult. For a bit, I had trans in my profile, like it would say in my bio that I was trans. But like sometimes I would take it out and see what would happen. I do not recommend that you do that, by the way. I think if you're using dating apps as a trans person, the best thing to do is just put it in your bio. Whoever wants to talk to you will talk to you. Whoever doesn't want to talk to you, they won't talk to you. And then you won't get your feelings invested into someone just for you to tell them and then them ghost you, or even worst case scenario, flipping hate crime you or something, okay? Just for some brief stories during this little period, I was texting someone for a day and I sent them and I told them I was trans. I don't remember if it was in my profile or if I just told them in the first conversation. I don't necessarily remember. But they knew at this time. I sent them a voice note and they said, I didn't expect your voice to be that high. Great thing to say to a trans person that's very dysphoric and pre-T. That's really wonderful. But obviously, cis people don't necessarily. I guess they don't necessarily know what could trigger someone's dysphoria. But I mean, in my mind, that's like pretty simple. Like, obviously, that makes someone feel a bit shit. I don't know though. It's fair to say I stopped talking to that person like pretty much that day. After that, I spoke to somebody else, and this is during the time where I didn't have trans written in my bio. I spoke to a cis man for 2 weeks, ended up telling them, they said, oh, cool, that's fine, thank you for telling me, I don't mind. And then they ghosted me. And this is what I mean when I say just have it out there, because if you wait, sure, it feels great while you're in that grace period where they don't know and it's so cool when they just view you how you want to be viewed. But then eventually, when you do tell them, something like that can happen, and it is really heartbreaking. So just don't do it. I mean, I don't know. You can do what you want, but like at the end of the day, it's just gonna make you upset. So I wouldn't recommend it. Also, on the topic of talking to cis people, but what's so difficult about it is that they'll either find out and then never want to talk to you again, or chasers. Lord, do not even get me started on chasers. I have had one experience with a chaser, and it was absolutely terrifying, and I will tell you about it now as a cautionary tale to not get desperate. I don't care what kind of rut you're in. You think you're gonna be alone forever? Never get this desperate. So I was on one of these dating apps. I saw a profile where in the bio it said trans. I think it said FTMs hit me up or something, and I was like, okay, something. It was a little bit suspicious in my mind. Alarm bells were kind of ringing in my brain, but because I was so desperate at the time, I kind of just ignored it and started talking to them. Within like the first conversation, I think they sent me a picture of their stomach or something, and then asked me to send them a picture of me being shirtless. And I was like, I'm trans. Why the hell would I send you a shirtless image? Why? So obviously I told them, no, you freak, I'm not gonna do that. But I said it a lot nicer. And then I think they said like, oh, I'm just joking. And I was like, okay, but why are you joking? I don't know about that. And then after that, I think I asked them like, why did it say FTMs follow me? Or talk to me or whatever it said. Straight away, they said, I want to fuck women with short hair, and most of them are FTMs. It's like, huh? Excuse me, what? And I didn't even respond because I was so shook. I was like, I mean, I don't know why I was shook because, like, obviously, I was like, use your brain. But yeah, I blocked them after that. I wasn't that desperate that I was gonna keep talking to someone like that. So please, my humble beings, please, please, please be on the lookout for weirdos like that. You do not want to get into a relationship with a chaser. That sounds like how I talked to one for 5 minutes and I was terrified. Please be careful out there. After a while, I thought that a cis person would never want to date me because it just never worked out with anyone. So I started talking a bit more to trans men, and I think at some point I even said I wanted a T4T relationship. But that never really worked out either, not for any particular reason. It just never went anywhere with anyone. So that's about it. I do understand T4T relationships. Like, I get how it would be good to have someone that like understands you fully because cis people can try to understand trans people, but they'll never truly understand because they've not gone through it. So that makes stuff sometimes a little bit difficult when you're feeling dysphoric and you don't know how to express that or what you need or how you feel. So my last topic of this video is my relationship right now that I am in right now with a cis man. And I was talking about how we make it work. So here is my rundown. Number one, this might seem like a basic one, and this is also important in any relationship, to be honest, but I feel like I'm going to be talking about stuff that specifically applies to being in a gay, trans, and cis relationship. Communication. So important, and I'm kind of guilty of being really, really, really bad at communicating my feelings because I always just feel like I'm inconveniencing people or I'm going to upset people if I say I'm not okay with something. And that's something I'm still honestly working on. I've gotten better at it, but it's still something I'm working on. But it is so important, especially like as trans people, we might have different needs and different things that we're uncomfortable with that if you're dating a cis person, they might not even understand or clock or like think about, because they haven't lived our experience. So obviously they might not understand what could trigger our dysphoria. So I think communicating like I don't like being called this. I don't like when I'm referred to as this. I don't like getting touched in this area. It's so important. And if you're with the right person, you should feel okay and safe to communicate those boundaries. Because if you do not feel safe and if you do communicate those boundaries and you're met with pushback instead of just being like, okay, I will not do that, drop them, break up with that bad person. You deserve better. Next thing I will mention is you have to have trust in that person that they do see you as what you are, because if you get insecure and you are kind of like, oh, they still see me as whatever you started out as, you're going to build resentment in your brain, and it's just not going to work. And if you need reassurance from your partner, like, I'm sure if you're dating a good person, you can have that conversation with them. And if you're having thoughts like that, it's also very important to have a conversation with your partner and be like, hello, I feel like this because my brain is stupid. Tell me that it's not true or I will crash out. So, obviously not in those words, but you know what I mean. And then hopefully if they're a good partner, they will reassure you that they do see you as what you are, I also kind of briefly want to touch on jealousy, and I don't get that jealous of my partner. Obviously, sometimes I'm like, you have what I want, But at the end of the day, you cannot like fixate on that, because again, you will just build resentment. And I have built resentment over people in my past when I was a lot more insecure, mostly before T, where I was like usually like with like family members, where I would see how they were treated by other family members, and just in general, I would just get jealous that like they could go like swimming with having their top off and I couldn't, and then I would just hate them, which is not healthy, and I don't do that anymore. But it was not great. So that's very important to not get jealous over stuff like that. And also, like, just you have to be secure in yourself. Like, I honestly cannot imagine myself dating a cis person or a cis man whilst I was pre-T, because I think I was way too insecure. And if I saw that, my partner was able to do certain things that I couldn't, I think I would crash out, and I don't think I could like I don't think I could like be super super close in that relationship, because I think I would just build resentment, I think. And if I had any advice for cis people that may be dating trans people, because you guys might be watching, I don't know, do I have any cis people in my audience? Probably not. But if I do, and you're dating a trans person, here's my advice: be understanding, be as understanding as you possibly can be. It can definitely be difficult, and dysphoria sometimes is like the most silliest thing. Like it can be triggered by such stupid things, and it's really important, even if you do not understand it, to just kind of be like, okay, like to not push back and be like, why are you feeling like this? I don't get it. Da, da, da. Just try be as empathetic as possible, even if you don't actually understand where that person's coming from, because you might not. Just be nice. Don't be a twat. I am very, very grateful for my relationship. I think we work together very well, and I love that guy very much. That's what I'm gonna say. I feel weird getting all like romantical on YouTube. That's why in all our videos together we kind of just act like buddies, because I think it's I don't know. I'm not about to flirt with someone on camera. That's really weird. That is where I'm going to end the video. If there are any other trans related topics you would like me to talk about, or talk about my experience with, you can let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll make a video about it. I read like every single comment that you guys leave, so let me know. Here is my TikTok and my Instagram. You can go follow me on there. I am very silly on there. And make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed me talking about my little dating business. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time, and I will see you when I see you. Bye bye.